All right. Thank you all for taking time to be at our webinar. Since COVID, we don't want to, well, I don't have my mask, so.
Sorry.
Chris is here manning the Q&A, and so if you send any questions, he'll decide if it's something we can address in the moment or if we will do it at the end. So you can answer as many questions as you like. We can go over whatever. If something pops up in the middle of me talking, you can go ahead and submit your request or question. We'll begin. Do you wanna? It's good? Okay. So we're gonna just talk about the new process we have with the foster protocols. Not too drastic of changes, they're just things to help. So you can go to the next slide. We are streamlining things to help make it more efficient. We had a survey that we sent out. I appreciate all your feedback. It was awesome, just to kind of know what we were doing good and what we needed to work on. Apparently our grammar, because that was not a very good sentence. So we want to make sure that you're heard and we want to get your opinion. So this is a kind of a way to put things that you guys suggested in motion. We have some communication updates that we're going to be talking about, how to meet you guys' needs in a more timely manner through different types of scheduling. And again, we're going to have different types of appointment scheduling options now, and our medical appointments are going to be a little bit different as well to make it more efficient, and so that you guys have all the information that you need. Go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay, so the new communication, we're going to try to leave texts and calls for between 9 and 6 p.m. if they're not an emergency. Me and Chris are going to be sharing the foster phone and Google Voice number. So we just ask that you kind of try to not text after hours, unless it's something that you really need an answer, like an emergency. But in that instance, you probably need to just call. If you think of something and it's like 8 o'clock at night and you're like, oh yeah, this is something I need to get answered, you can send it in an email and we can answer the next day. We have to have our phone on loud. So if we have, 10 or 20 people texting us after hours, it can get a little distracting as we're trying to kind of wind down and enjoy some time that's not work. During business hours, if you guys would send us a text if you need to talk to us, that way, if it's not an emergency, but you still would like a call, it makes it a little bit easier. If I'm in a meeting or something, I have to answer that call because it could be an emergency. So we're trying to kind of only reserve calls for emergency situations. Obviously, things happen. It's not going to be cut and dry, but just to kind of give a little bit of a guideline. But again, after hours, if you call, we just prefer, we would appreciate if it was just emergencies. And if you don't know if it's an emergency and you're panicking, call us, because we don't mind in that situation. We're here to help you and make sure everything's okay. We also have the shared inbox of the foster@heschat.org. So if you have things that aren't like super pressing, you can always send us an email and we'll be sure to respond in at least 24 hours. It'll probably be less than 24 hours, but that's just in case we have like a lot going on. If it's not emergent, we might not be able to get to it right away. And then again, at the bottom, like I was saying, just try to reduce the calls to our cell phone during the day by texting us first. If you don't have text and you only can do phone calls, then that's totally fine. We understand everyone's a little bit different in how they use technology, and so we try to be flexible there. All right, so we're going to have all kinds of different types of appointments, and most of you already kind of know most of these things. The routine care appointments, that's what you're going to schedule for vaccines and things like that. They're not medical appointments. So when you schedule a medical appointment, that is for an illness. You want to make sure that you're following that protocol. We'll kind of go into more depth of each appointment type in a minute. We also have a supply pickup appointment, a prescription refill, a foster return appointment, and then scheduling dog or cat adoption meetings. But we'll get into those a little more in just a second if you want to go to the next one. Here's our routine care appointments. If you foster puppies and kittens, you're going to be on a 2-week vaccine schedule until they're 20 weeks old. Most of the time, you're not going to have an animal until they're 20 weeks old. It kind of just depends on the situation. But we ask that you just kind of keep an eye on that, because sometimes when we have hundreds of animals in foster, we can get a little behind. So if you guys kind of just keep up with that vaccine schedule and you're going on and scheduling it, even if that means scheduling it as soon as you get an animal, like knowing that they're due, that would just help us out a lot. Appointments can't be less than 2 weeks. So if you have a kitten that's due for a vaccine and you want to schedule a day early or any days early, we cannot do that. They have to be after the time it's due. That being said, there's a 7-day window, so you can't make it too late either. We have to make sure they stay on that schedule. It's detrimental to go off of that schedule, and we don't want to have to restart their vaccines, because that would just be a nightmare, and we don't want to give the kittens too many vaccines either. If you are having a medical issue, like your kitten having diarrhea, some kind of upper respiratory symptom or something like that, do not schedule a vaccine or a routine care appointment. Try to make that a medical appointment, because if I'm just doing vaccines and we need somebody to look at them and medical team's got another appointment or they're super busy, they're not necessarily going to have time to look at your kitten. So we want to make sure that we have that appointment scheduled out. We also have Maddie's Pet reminders. So when you sign up, you get a lot of Maddie's Pet surveys that help you with things. You get a lot of emails that kind of tell you when your animal's due. So just make sure to check your email. That's going to be the best way to keep track of when they're going to be due for things. You can also mark it on your calendar. If you know when your kitten's going to be due for vaccine, go ahead and put it on there on your phone, on your Google Calendar, whatever you use. That'll make it a lot easier. So a lot of the routine medications, you guys are probably going to know this, but I just wanted to kind of go over it again, just in case you don't. We do flea and tick prevention. Kittens, puppies, and cats receive Celerid, and that's going to take care of ear mites, heartworms, hookworms, and roundworms. The adult dogs get Bravecto, and that's every 3 months. So you'll just kind of keep track of when they got that, and knowing the next month or the next 3-month period, that is when they're going to be due again. So if you keep track of that, it helps us a lot, because every animal has different dates. And so if you guys are keeping up with that, that's only 1 or 4 animals you have to keep up with. If you think about how many we have to keep up with, it's a little crazy. Heartworm prevention, we need to make sure that our adult and puppy dogs, they're getting their TriHeart every month on the same day. So we normally do the 15th of every month. I'll go back. We usually do the 15th of every month, but now they're starting to do TriHeart on intake, which means that if you're fostering a new dog, it may have a different date. So again, just make sure that you're kind of paying attention to when they're due. We're going to do our best to make sure we remind you, but again, if you guys can kind of keep up with that on your own, that would really help us out. You'll receive their heartworm pill when they go home with you. We're going to just start trying to send it regardless of when they're due. But if they do come back before they're due for the pill, just make sure to return it with them. That way we can send it with their adopter, or we can put it back in our inventory. Oh, another thing, if you're not aware, heartworms are when mosquitoes bite the dog, and then the eggs go into their bloodstream and hatch, and then it's fatal. And the treatment for heartworms is very, very expensive. So if your own dogs are not on this, I highly recommend doing it, because it's a very harmful thing, and we want to make sure that all of our dogs stay heartworm free. Next slide. The other types of routine medications that you're going to be sent home with most of the time for like kittens and puppies is going to be the toltrazuril. It's a little bit confusing at first, but you give it 3 days in a row, and then you repeat 10 days from the first dose that you gave. We try to make a little label that gives you the exact dates of when to give it. Just please make sure you're following that, because we go ahead and just assume you're following the instructions and we complete it in our system. So please make sure that you're doing your due diligence and you're making sure that they're getting that medication. Strongid, oh, and again, the toll is for coccidia. It's a microscopic parasite that you're not going to see in their poop. So you just want to make sure that you're giving that so we can prevent it. It doesn't always 100% kill it. So there's other types of medication we may prescribe to treat coccidia. We also give Strongid, and that's going to be they get 4 rounds of their kittens and puppies, and adults usually get 1 or 2 rounds. I think we're probably going to stop giving adult dogs Strongid. So you guys that foster adult dogs probably won't have to worry about this. It's like a yellow medication, and it is light sensitive, so you want to keep that out of sunlight. That's the same with the Celerid. You want to make sure that if you are sent home with it, that you're not just laying it out on the counter where the sun can hit it. Does anybody have any questions so far? Just because it's a lot of information, and I'm talking really fast, so I'm sorry. I don't think anybody probably
Questions yet?
Okay. The next kind of thing to go over is going to affect how you schedule your medical appointments. It's our level of urgency handout. So we have green, yellow, and red. Obviously that kind of is obvious in your head, like red is an emergency, it's bad. So that's when you're going to immediately call us. Urgent is going to be like you need to send a text to us so that we can tell you to schedule an appointment or walk you through whatever. You can also call the urgent, the yellow, if you are like concerned that you're not sure if it's almost an emergency, like you can still call us and we can talk you through it. Less urgent is things that can wait. So you can just email us or text us and then go ahead and schedule that appointment. The only reason that I say to communicate with us first is so that we might be able to kind of direct you, because if it's something that really isn't necessary for an appointment, then we can just walk you through it. So it's a learning curve. We're all going to, try to figure out ways to make this easier. Everything's not going to be cut and dry on this form. So obviously, if you don't see your issue on here, just reach out and we can help you. We will try to get more detailed documents out later in the manual. But for now, this is just kind of a little handout to help you guys. There's also the emergency clinics on the bottom, and those are the places that we will send you to if it's a true emergency and it's something that we A, can't see here, or B, it's after hours and nobody else is open. So you'll pick the one that's closest to your house and you've got all that information right there for you. It's also got our foster cell phone number on there, and then the animal control emergency number. And the off chance that you can't get a hold of me or Chris, that is your next spot to call. Hopefully that won't happen though. You can go to the next slide.
Oh, we got 2 questions here.
Okay.
Can we get emergency levels printed? She said, I think everything's an emergency.
Oh.
Can we get emergency levels printed?
Like the handout? We do have the handout available on our active foster page where you will be scheduling things and all that. It's right there for you to view. And then we also send it out in an email, and I've been trying to hand them out to you when you come in for appointments. Not sure if that was the question
though. And then Wendy's asking, she's saying they can contact their foster mentor, can't they? If they're
yeah, the foster mentors are kind of more related to kittens, and we'll have more stuff. Trying to work out the kinks on that. We launched the foster mentor program, and it was mostly for like our small baby kitten fosters. And so in that instance, if your mentor wants to direct you as well, most of the time it's emergency, then you would just be calling us anyway. And the mentor would kind of direct you to schedule an appointment as well. But we'll have more in-depth foster mentorship things in the future.
And that question about the levels being printed was referring to the handout. So
okay, so we're good on that. Okay, you can go to the next slide, or wait.
They're asking if they can have it attached to the Facebook group page.
The Facebook group. Okay, yeah, I can add it to that after the meeting. Let me write that. Well, we'll worry about it later. Yeah. Okay, so one of the biggest changes that we have made is kind of with the way we're doing medical appointments. So when you schedule an appointment, you're going to select your level of urgency. Obviously, if medical team reads the appointment and they see that it's maybe more urgent, then they may call you. but that just kind of helps us categorize what needs to be seen. Let's say we have, 5 really urgent appointments all at the same time, and we really need to see a really, really like an emergency or something like that, then they may ask you to reschedule like a green level. I hope that doesn't become a thing. Most likely we won't have to worry about it. But hopefully everyone could be understanding that some things, would need to be seen, more urgently. Everyone will need to fill out a brief history form each time, and it must be completed before the appointment. I know it'll get a little tedious. It's going to ask you to fill this out every time. It's a little bit more in depth than our last form, but this is going to help cut back on the amount of back and forth that we used to have. So before me or Chris were grabbing the animal, going back there, they were asking us questions, we were having to ask you guys questions, and it was just a lot of back and forth. So the way we're going to do it is you're going to arrive and then go to one of the rooms, and a medical team member is going to be assigned to your visit. They're going to have that form with all the information filled out, and they're going to be able to say, okay, I need to ask this, this, and this based on what you told us. They can go ahead and start getting things ready. Jen, our medical supervisor, she said that so far that it's been amazing. It's really helped them kind of streamline things. So just make sure to fill that form out. If you cannot fill it out online or don't have access to internet, then we can give you one to fill out in the lobby, or I can make you an appointment over the phone. Hopefully everyone has access, but we will make accommodations if you don't. They will also give you discharge instructions and follow up with you after your appointment. So that way you kind of know what the animal's treatment plan is, why they're being treated for something, and maybe some handouts about they'll email you some handouts about what sickness they might have. We also will have more appointment times available as our medical staff is going to be staying. Oh, and again, just to relay about the medical thing, I kind of already talked about this, but if you do have something that is a medical concern, please make sure that it is a medical appointment and not the routine care appointment. Again, I just hate to make somebody come back for an appointment because they scheduled the wrong one, and then we try our best to accommodate, and for the most time we're able to kind of fit people in, but I worry that during kitten season when we're constantly with sick kittens that we might not be able to. So just please make sure to schedule that medical appointment.
If you do a routine vaccine, they will give that to you at the medical appointment, so you don't have to make 2 appointments.
Right, yeah. If you couldn't hear Chris, he was saying you can mark that your animal's due for a vaccine on your medical appointment, so they could just knock that out while you're there for that. Is that a question?
We need to contact a member of the foster team before making a medical appointment, or do we just do it if there's concern?
You can briefly, you can make the appointment and then also tell us what's going on. So if it's an emergency, call us before scheduling it so we can figure out the best plan of action. But especially if it's a green level thing, you can just let us know that you're going to be scheduling it. And then that way, if we're really busy and we don't have time to respond, at least it's on the schedule. And if something comes up and we're like, oh, okay, this doesn't need to be an appointment, then we can fix it later. But we just want to kind of have that communication with you guys in addition to scheduling it. But I wouldn't say you have to have an immediate answer to schedule. Does that kind of make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's okay to go ahead and schedule. Just communicate with us.
Yeah. Yep.
Great question.
All right. And if you guys have any other questions about things, we're going to have a segment at the end that you can ask things as well. So we're doing supply pickup requests now to make it a little bit easier so we can get everything ready for you guys. Sometimes we're running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And if you just show up to get things, I don't have a guarantee that we have time to stop what we're doing to help. Sometimes we do, but if we have a supply request submitted 4 hours in advance, then we can text you when it's ready. You can pick it up earlier if we give you a text, but your appointment time is kind of to say don't come before that appointment time, if that makes sense. We're going to have some basic items that are refilled daily, so that way if something does happen and you're just running by the shelter, we might have things already ready if it's not specific. For example, in this photo, You'll see my office to the left. To the right is going to be the spot where you can pick up your supplies. It's our grooming room, and there's going to be a shelf. And so we'll put your name or your foster pet's name on whatever you're picking up. So that way you can just go in there and grab it if you've already submitted your supply request. The corner will have lots of cat litter. So if you just need to swing by and pick up a bucket of litter, it'll be there. And there'll also be a little couple shelves of just like general dry food. The times that you're going to probably have to request things, if it's like a specific wet food or just something that's out of the ordinary. There's a storage box for after hours, and I have an arrow pointing to it. It's at the back parking lot by the door that you guys drop off for surgery. So if you need to pick something up after 6 p.m. or after 5 p.m., I think 6, you're here till 6. So if it's after 6, then you just need to make sure that you tell us and we'll put it in the storage box for you guys. The only time we can't do that if it's something that's like temperature sensitive, then we won't be able to put it in the storage box, but we let you know that. The code is bark. So you would just punch that into the little thing, and then you can grab your supplies, and there you go. We also may have times when you need a prescription refill. Most of the time, this is going to be for things like anxiety medicine, long-term medications that your adult or kitten is on. If it's something that we don't think is going to be like you can just pick up and you need an appointment, then we'll let you know. But you can go ahead and submit that. We do need at least 24 hours in advance. That's because our medical team will be filling those prescriptions, and we want to make sure they have an adequate amount of time to get it ready. You know, things happen, and we'll do our best to accommodate, but if we follow this kind of thing, it's going to streamline the process and make it so that we're not as rushed, and so that way you get what you need quicker. You will receive a text when it's ready, so please check in before your appointment if you haven't heard, because I don't want you to show up to pick something up that's not ready. So just let us know, or we'll let you guys know when it's ready. If you need extra supplies in addition, please schedule that separately, because Chris and I and Susan, we're the ones that are going to be filling the regular supplies. We've also got the different online forms. So we've got foster availability form, foster relief form, and the pet personality form. The availability form is the one that I've been kind of preaching to you guys for a while. You're going to fill that out when you're ready to foster an animal. This could be when you are a new foster and you're letting me know that you've read all the material, that you're ready to go. Other people fill it out when they return a foster, so that way I know when you're going to be ready again. This just helps me and Chris too, because when he's working on the days I'm off, he might not be as familiar with everyone. And so he can look through the sheet and say, oh, okay, this person's ready for 2 kittens on this date. It's a really great tool for us. And if you don't hear from us, you can always check back in. It usually just means we haven't gotten a good fit for you and we're waiting on that. But that form has been really helpful, and most people have filled it out. But I think it's just kind of getting into the routine of doing that. We also have another form that you fill out if you're going to be going out of town. That way we kind of just get an idea of when we need to find another foster, and you can also put on there if you're going to take the foster back when you're back in town. That also lets us know if we need a more permanent situation. We've also got the pet personality form that you're going to fill out to help aid the adoption process. You can attach pictures and you can add bio information, just anything that's going to really help sell your pet to someone. You want to make sure that you're, promoting them and they're picking your animal because they love all the things that you've written about them. There is a spot to schedule a foster return. Please notify us before you schedule that, whether it's filling out that form and then just letting us know that you're going ahead and scheduling that time. For the most part, this is more like if you have an adult animal that can stay at the shelter, or we've told you, hey, go ahead and schedule this. Because if it's a situation where you're returning like a bottle kitten or a really tiny kitten or a little puppy, we want to make sure that we are able to line somebody else up to pick up the animal. So that's why I say to kind of just let us know before scheduling that. And it's also where you're going to go to schedule transport drop-offs. That way we can get an idea of who's dropping off when.
We had a question. When do we fill out the personality form? Just any time?
It's kind of up to you guys, at least within a week of getting your foster animal. You don't want to do it too soon, like the first day, because you're not going to know as much about them. If you just want to send like really cute pictures to our email, that's totally fine. And you could just wait until like a week or two when you know the animal more. It's just really helpful when we're promoting them that we have all that to give the adoption counselors.
It's also good to show like before and after picture.
Yeah, before and after pictures are good. We've also made an adoption appointment scheduling system where it's going to kind of cut down from you playing phone tag with the adoption staff. They get lots of calls throughout the day. So if they call you and you try to call them back, sometimes it's hard to get through. So these are just going to be for approved adopters. Let's say the adoption staff calls you and says, hey, we've got a potential adopter for Fluffy. And I'm going to give you their contact information. And if you'll just talk to them and let them know some information, after you guys talk, you and the adopter, you can go on there and just schedule a time to have them meet your foster animal at the shelter. So that way, you know which times are available. It's on their schedule. So if they do decide to adopt the animal and they're already fixed and ready to go, then they can go ahead and finalize. It's on their schedule. Everybody knows what's going on. You don't have to do that back and forth. It's got a little form on that appointment scheduling that you fill out. So hopefully you can put any details that are necessary in there. And there's going to be separate dog and cat ones. I need to drink some water again. I feel like I never talked this much. So just some quick little reminders. As I was saying, you want to promote your fosters for adoption. Of course, if you've got tiny babies that aren't ready, that's not really what I'm talking about. It's more like the adult dogs, the adult cats, the kittens that are almost to the point of getting spayed and neutered. You want to make sure that you're getting really good pictures, you're writing catchy bios. Because, you know, a dog that has one picture or a kitten that's got a very outdated newborn photo, they're going to be less likely to be picked. If you've got a cat that you're fostering that was really shy in the shelter and it's cowering in its profile picture, not the best way to kind of promote them. If you are not good at taking photos, find a friend or a family member that is and have them come over and take some. There's, you know, lots of people that would be willing to help you. So we just got to make sure that we're promoting them and getting them to that next stage, because that's very important. Chris is currently working on a adoption training class so that he can kind of go over ways to help promote your animal, make you more of an adoption ambassador, and helping us kind of shorten the amount of time that animals are in foster care, so that they can get to their forever homes. Another thing, just as I kind of touched on before, please check your emails. I know not everybody really uses them, but that's a really good source of getting information, a good place that we can send updates, and that's where you're going to get reminder emails. We try our best to do texting and everything, but emails are just so much easier. So if you can please check your email, we would very appreciate it. Next slide. Okay, so questions, and I will do my best to give you answers.
Emily's doing a great job. She's a superstar. We have so far.
I'm sorry if I talk really fast. I get nervous.
Another compliment, saying you did a great job and you did not talk fast.
And this is recording too, so obviously this isn't relevant to you guys because you're here, but the people that couldn't come, I can send this over to them as well.
All right, a question from Brianna. So are we going to be talking to potential adopters?
That's mostly for people that are adult animals. I don't think they really do that for kittens. Most of the time people just like wait until they get to the adoption floor. But there are times when adoption staff might just ask you to do that. If you don't feel comfortable with it, I could put a note on your profile that you aren't comfortable talking to them. It's helpful, but I know that not everybody wants to do that. So I guess it would just depend on who you're fostering. And we don't ask you to meet up with anybody outside of the shelter. So that's why we have this appointment scheduling. I don't want you guys having strangers come to your house. If it's a friend or a family member that's interested in your foster animal, they do need to be approved still. So make sure that they're still going on there and filling out the adoption application. You don't necessarily have to do the meeting here unless it's a dog and it's meeting another dog. At that point, we have to do meet and greets.
We've got 2 questions.
Okay.
There's a question about vaccines. Usually they do not do vaccines on the sick animals that are on meds, or they put on meds. So they would let us know that they did not give the vaccine at that time if we were bringing them in for a medical appointment, but they are also doing vaccines. So they basically, yeah, they would tell whether or not that they'll get a vaccine.
Yeah, if an animal's there for a medical reason, some medical reasons, they can still go ahead and get vaccines. Like, I'm trying to think. Sometimes, like, even if there's diarrhea or if it's a minor upper respiratory, or let's say they have a scratch on their eye, those are things they can still get vaccinated for. But it's at the discretion of the medical staff. And so if you come in and they tell you that the animal can't get their vaccine, then they'll let you know what date to go ahead and tentatively reschedule it. But we'll make sure that they're healthy enough. We won't just give it without checking.
Are we setting up a time to meet them, or just putting our availability and they pick, referring to adoption appointments?
You're picking a time that they're going to come in and meet that animal. So if there's a spot on that appointment time where it says you will be staying or I'm going to be dropping off. So let's say you guys can't come up with a time that's going to work for both of you. You can make a spot that says I'm going to be dropping off. And then this is the time that person's coming in to meet the animal. Does that make sense? I hope.
Okay. Adrian's asking to talk about returning supplies after you're done fostering. And do we have any immediate needs?
Yes, if you are not fostering anymore, or you know that you're not going to be fostering for a while and you have supplies that we really need, like heating pads or scales or dog crates, things like that, miracle nipples, then please bring them back. I don't mind if you hold on to them if you're frequently fostering. That's just easier. But if you are like, I'm not going to be fostering for the next 3 months, then we probably should get those back. We do really need miracle nipples and heating pads and dog crates right now. So if you don't feel like you need them or you bought your own tools, then just go ahead and bring those back. We would really appreciate it.
Do we just text you to have ready in the pickup room routine meds such as monthly heartworm or flea tick meds?
You can also fill that form out for flea and tick and heartworm. So it works for that as well. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
If they have an appointment, like if it's a kitten and they get their flea medicine at the same time as their shots, then you don't have to do a supply pickup for that. And again, I know the adoption scheduling stuff is a little confusing. It's kind of new. So if we decide that we need to do something differently, then that's totally fine. Like I said, it's mostly going to be people that are interested in adult animals. So it probably won't affect kitten and puppy fosters quite as much. It's going to be kind of a case by case.
Do we still need to fill out the availability form if we are always available?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess so that we have you on there. Yeah, I'm sure that, I mean, I guess, who wrote that? Oh, Wendy. Yeah, if you go ahead and just fill it out maybe once or twice, just so that we know that you're on there.
If we have to leave town for an extended period of time and can't take the foster animals with us, is it preferred or okay to have someone babysit them, or is the preference to fill out the form for taking a break?
Fill out the form. It's going to be a case by case. I've had people ask this. If you've got like a trusted family member that just checks in on the animal, it's going to just kind of depend on what you're fostering, the situation at hand. Like if we don't have anybody else that can help and is somebody that, you know, is really trusted, and I've got to talk to them as well, so they have my information. They don't necessarily have to fill anything out, but again, it's case by case. So you can go ahead and fill out that foster return, maybe make a note about your situation, and we can discuss it further and see what the best plan of action is.
Do you think it would be helpful to post supply lists for people that want to buy their own, especially neonatal kittens?
Yeah, we've got a little section of most needed kitten supplies on the active. Did I even mention the active foster page? This whole time, I don't think I even mentioned it, but the place that you go to schedule appointments is the active foster page link, heschat.org/active foster. I made magnets for everybody with that link on it. So if you've been coming in for appointments, you probably gotten a magnet. Totally didn't even say the link. But it should be on there. There's a spot that's like the kitten lady's got like a list of most needed kitten supplies. But I can make something. That's a good idea. I'll try to make a little kit situation so that you guys know what you can buy for your own. And obviously, if you guys have other questions later that you think of, you can always ask me. We plan to do more types of classes. So if you have anything specific you want to learn about, we can try to do some more of these. It kind of just depends on you guys, and we want to know what we're doing good. We want to know what we're not. So, you know, feel free to kind of communicate that with us so that we can keep growing and be better. Do you have another question?
Could we also make a page or a form for people who are available to watch your fosters if you go out of town? Because I did that several times this last season, and there was some confusion on the drop-off and pickup. That way we could just text each other and keep you on the loop.
So it would be like a form to say that you're a temporary person. My brain isn't. Let me read it. Like, are you saying like a place where you would say I'm available to take this foster animal, or you're saying it's kind of like on our foster page, we kind of have that, like our foster. On our foster page, like our foster Facebook page. Yeah, let me think on this one. My brain is like not working right. I see what you're saying. But yeah, we'll try to figure out a way to make that easier. Form. I'm writing it down, Brianna. Okay.
I guess for now you could just use the link that says you're going out of town or something like that.
Yeah.
Given there was so much pan loop last season, it would be a good idea to have an extensive class done on this subject.
Yes. So we did have a lot of panleukopenia last year. Hopefully it's not as bad, knock on wood. But yes, I think a class on that would be good. So we'll add that. We have a couple little, like we have an infographic on the Active Foster page of like different bullet points to kind of know, but having some kind of like in-depth class, I think would be good.
One of the things we've talked about doing is having a basic medical class of just all the things with all the diseases and like things like worms and things to pay attention to, poop, you know, all the different things like that, just so everybody has a general knowledge.
Yeah. Trying to stay 6 feet apart.
Medical class would be an awesome idea.
Yeah, we did a medical class last year and I think it went really well. So maybe we can do another one. And if anybody has specific things they would like to learn about, it would be great if you guys would voice your opinion. Another.
Oh, just saying they like medical class too.
Okay.
So the classes we're working on, class for taking care of baby kittens, the medical class, adoption class for helping advertise your pets, and other ones that you guys find interesting or important.
Yep.
Oh, feeding class, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's most. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Wendy. She's coming.
I guess I didn't really touch on, I know this isn't a question, but Chris typically works Sunday, Monday, and then I work Tuesday through Saturday, just so you kind of know. If I'm out of town, then Chris and Chastity kind of take over, but it's mostly Chris. Sorry, I should have mentioned that in the other part.
For foster stuff, yeah.
Yeah, for foster stuff. Hopefully I answered all your questions. If I didn't, you can email me kind of what you would like to know. And Brianna, I'm going to try to think on a way to make that a little bit easier with the fosters going out of town and such. We just want to make sure that it's an approved foster, like that you're communicating with and that kind of thing. Yeah. Is there another question?
That's a very good thing, Wendy. That's why we created the one phone number and one email for everybody. So now you can text or call that one number or email that one email address, and you can reach whoever's on duty. That way you don't have to have a separate number. But we do have our own personal emails and stuff like that too. But the most effective way is to use that one number that we all now share. And then that email address. It's kind of funny though, because during the week I'll be talking to somebody, ask them a question, and don't think it's Emily and it's me now. So
we try to put our names at the end if that way you kind of know who you're talking to. But Chris was saying we both have our own email, so it's our first and last name, Chris May at heschat.org and Emily Johnson at heschat.org. We just prefer to use the foster one to make sure nothing gets missed. That's why we kind of made it a shared inbox, because when I wasn't working, if somebody emailed, then Chris didn't have a way to see that. So we're trying to just make it more easier for you guys to get an answer and more efficient that way.
We can double check each other. So
yeah. And that way, if you're texting me about something on Saturday and then you need to have a follow-up on Sunday, then Chris can look back at our conversation and then he knows what's going on. It's not quite as confusing and everything's right there.
And then I can see when you're talking about me too.
Yeah.
She was just saying she'd forgotten.
Oh, okay.
If you guys have a hard time getting a hold of Emily during the week and it's something you need a response on, my number still does work, so you can still text or call my other number. So I will still receive that separately. But we're going to try to follow the main number, and that way everybody has access to it and there's no gap in communication, hopefully.
Yeah, and I've got a separate number on my foster phone too, but again, we're trying not to use that. There is a weird glitch where sometimes you guys' messages go to the random number. I don't know how to fix that, but hopefully we'll get it figured out. It's only been a couple of people, but it's kind of weird.
All right, are there any other questions? Wendy was saying she loves the new format and ideas.
Awesome. Okay, well, yeah. And again, this is just kind of to make things more efficient and less chaotic. Of course, everything's chaotic in a shelter, but hopefully it's not going to be quite as bad. Is that a question?
Laura was saying, great job, guys, super helpful.
Okay. Oh, good. Hopefully this has been helpful for you all. Again, we really appreciate you and everything you do. We want to make sure that this year is even more organized and streamlined, and we can send as many animals out of here as possible. It's been pretty awesome so far because like last year we had people filling out that survey or filling out that availability, and so we get a kitten in and then it's immediately out the door 2 hours later. So it's been really awesome, and we appreciate you guys so much. Is that all?
We're going to be continuously improving and adding more information to the Active Foster page as time goes on. We're working on a handbook that'll be available soon. There's just a lot of information to get together and to type up and all that. But if there's information that you guys specifically don't have access to that you think would be helpful, just send us an email, let us know. And it's something that just might be on the way and just not actually posted yet. So
yeah. We've got like the basic cat and dog manual, but I wanted to make it more in depth and also have like a more kitten centric one because that's our biggest foster population. So hopefully we will get that done. But thank you guys so much for coming and listening to me and Chris talk forever.
all right, guys, thank you. Bye.